Ducktales 20 years later, episode 18. It was late in the day by the time the group had flown into Chihuahua. The sun had begun to dip low behind the horizon over the bare Mexican landscape. The three girls looked excitedly out the windows, searching for any signs of their uncle, climbing over each other to look out the sleeping ranch town that had already gone to the ground for night. Huey had to concentrate not to get distracted by the display occurring on his co-pilot seat. Definitely had to stop to think about the vague wish that he indeed had a co-pilot seat, so he wouldn't smash his sea duck into the ground. As the bird landed, Louis awoke from his sleep, feeling less than refreshed. The normal part and parcel cricks and aches of sleeping in an airplane seat, overlaid the not so typical aches associated with being savagely beaten within an inch of his life a while back. Where? Dewey looked out the window, as a single horsebacked rider came up to meet him. We're here, Louis. Wake up. Without a word, Louis began to rise, working through his aching body as he stood up from the uncomfortable seat. He, too, looked out the window. Everyone else is in town asleep already, I gather? It's not even dark out yet. Not all of us can survive on a couple of hours of sleep at night, Louis, teased Dewey, as he stood and walked towards the exit, opening up and jumping down into the dusty ground below. Webby stood and began to help Louis follow his brother. Skip it, Webby, he said, shrugging off her gentle hands. Doofus needs more help than I do. Right, she said, as he walked over to the still prostrate Doofus. Prostrate, sorry. The word prostrate is kind of hilarious to me. Soon, the group had assembled outside the plane and were being led by every single horseman. Another was the Crow night watchman that patrolled the ranch after dark. The girls chattered on in Portuguese, with Huey hovering over them, catching every other word. Dewey strode a discreet distance away from Webby, who supported the weakened Doofus on her shoulder. For his part, carrying a suitcase by his side filled with his armor, which Webby forbade for him to use until he was better. Louis walked, or limped, a little behind the group, all of his sexual politics languishing through the Chihuahua cattle range making him roll his eyes. However, he couldn't help but think of Goslin. How old was she, anyway? Could he be arrested for that? On, through the edge of the village, and towards the tavern, their Crow guide said nothing, preferring to simply hurry before the darkness fell completely over town. For their part, the brothers and company were too exhausted by their flight to make too much of the conversation amongst themselves, and more than one of them planned to crash on the first bed of the night. The Crow dismounted from his horse, tied him up in front of the tavern, before he walked to the front. The entire group moved after him through the swinging doors of the tavern. Dewey, at the head of the group, noted that everyone in town, it seems, was gathered in the bar, sitting rails straight on tables on the floor they wouldn't fit. Drinks sat untouched on the tables in the bar, and the entire scene had an eerie silence Dewey was all too familiar with. "Wait!" he yelled, backing away from the tableau. "It's a trick!" But it was too late. All 5 of the ducks found their way through the swinging doors, and found themselves helpless as each town person, as a man tossed a wave of small green balls towards the ducks and parrots, which flashed brightly as they struck the ground with a clear whoof noise. Instantly, Dewey felt his legs shake and vision leave, as he felt his body and senses stunned by the torrent of bombs. He tried to stay standing, but was suddenly too weak. He fell to the ground like a rag doll, along with his brothers and allies, who fell about each other like too many sacks of potatoes. Dewey tried to begin. Magic. I'm here to be sorry, said a voice, crackling and fragile, with a familiar Italian lilt. I say more Russian. But I'm afraid this might be your final adventure, nephews. You've got it between me and my plans for long enough. Dewey's vision began to swim, and he saw the outline of a black-clad figure, a hag of a duck, thin as death, with bright white hair and more crags and lines than the face of a mountain. As he stood among the now standing townspeople, a glowing wand in her right hand, with the other caressing the chin of a man, Pachita. I shall not tell you wrong, duck. I have come for the dime. You're dying? Claiming your old man's time as your own, eh? As he approached slowly, using the curse he no longer had. How funny of you. Shall I tell you what I want to do with that time? I know what you want, said Dewey. Sheer gumption allowed him to recover from the wolf before any of his companions. Midas touch! She laughed again, casually dropping another wolf bomb on the ground. Dewey was caught in a flash. Once again found himself stunned. That little spell, I gave up on that years ago. I have found new use for old man's time. She twined her thin, bony fingers around the wand, a low, growing green whip of a stick. I have found in my studies the secret to eternal youth and beauty, the elixir of Aphrodite. Aphrodite, 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 the goddess of love. She turned away from Dewey and began to hobble about, reveling in her own genius. Ever since I lost my beauty, I have been traveling the world to find the components of this spell, including the first coin made by the richest duck in the world. I had thought that the magic in the coin would dissipate with its death as his wealth was distributed throughout the world. But after I contracted my beautiful ideal spell, I see that it is still potent after all these years. She rubbed her face. Death is hard, good, beauty. Now that is the greatest letter of the universe. I did not know what power I had until it was gone. It is ephemeral, temporary. It is the greatest asset I could ever choose to have. For my youth back, I would gladly sacrifice you, this town, those placid idiotic abandons, the whole world! With a smile, her still hunting eyes narrowed. Today, I shall settle for you. Supine and numb all over. Dewey was unable to move as Magica Dispel walked up, her trembling, etheric hands reaching towards his pocket where he kept both dimes. He suddenly yelled, forcing his dead arm to move clumsily to knock against her hand. Not a really weak attack, but enough to cause her to draw back. There is spirit in this one. We shall have to fix this. She grabbed the acid green wand towards the green parrot sitting at the bar. Jose. You, playboy, get me screws dying! Yes, comrade, said Jose, his train smoothing out his accent. The parrot stood, limping forward without the help of his umbrella. Jose, said Dewey, drained after his desperate attack against Magica's probing fingers. Oh, please. But Jose did not listen. He merely reached his hands into Dewey's pocket, and he was told to die. The heaving cackle began once again. It is not mine. Slave! Bring it to me. Let me hold it in my hands. Jose turned blankly, holding the dime between his thumb and forefinger. He walked towards Magica, arm outstretched. She held out her arms as if setting a beloved child back home. No! I win, Toy Duck. I win! She laughed as the dime hovered closer over her fingers. No! Suddenly, a crash. The window. No, the whole side of the wall of the tavern caved in violently, sending splinters and hypnotized victims to the ground. A cloud of dust preceded the entry of a large brown object flying in, smashing into the old wood wall of the tavern. Dewey blinked away the dust of residual filth. He was sworn that he saw a struggling horse fly through the air away from the wall, crash into the bar hard, sending strong spirits all to the ground. The horse, coming in contact with the ground, struggled and screamed on its broken body, before it slowed down and began to shrink in size. The chocolate tones darkening and turning black, the two broken front legs becoming a pair of broken, busted wings. Soon the horse became a raven, who screamed and cried in pain, squeaking words in Italian that none but the uncaring Magica could understand. What was that? She demanded, trying to drive away the smoke. First she saw the silhouette. A duck, a billy cape, boots, a flash of yellow and black. She snatched the dime away from Jose quickly. Drop the dime, Magica. What? Who are you, silly man? Who dares face Magica Dispel? Sorceress! The dust cleared fully, showing the one-eyed mask, the costume and face of pure rage. They call me, he said, eye wild. PK. Lusta, Playboy, get him, you fools! Matsuka screeched as he ran upstairs to the upper level of the tavern. Yes, comrade. Dewey! PK yelled as Panchito began to draw his twin guns and Jose took up an umbrella, which he brandished like a sword. Your dime! Dime? Throw me your dime! Bang, 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 bang! PK tilted out of the way just as Panchito began to try to fill his gut with hot lead. Quickly! But I can't. It's mine. Dewey, right now! Something in the voice called Dewey back. The hot summer days back in the backyard with his two brothers. To ice cream sodas, to Super Snooper comics, misadventures ending with dreaded switch. Unconsciously, his arm disconnected from the rest of his numb body. He reached for his pocket, the remaining 1967 dated dime, ripped from his housing on a string in his pocket. Before his natural mind-grabbing tendencies could get the better of him, he threw it towards the fray before passing it out altogether. As the flying dome neared the two hypnotized caballeros began to vibrate, PK dived, raising his arms to grab it out of the air and landed on a roll. With dime in hand, he could feel the power fighting the communist magic that bewitched the parrot and rooster. Balling his fist, he gave two swings. Puff! Pow! And four Jose and Panchito had two shots. When they opened their eyes, it was clear they were back to their normal emotional selves. What's happened? asked Jose. Where's the witch? Cried Panchito, hopping up and pointing his gun towards the masked man. And who are you? We did not think they just strangers here in Chihuahua. But Jose, still posted on the floor, looked up with PK with a kind of eye-to-eye reverence. Is it? No time, said PK. She's getting away. Come on! We're three caballeros, we're three gay caballeros, we're like birds of a feather. Like wind her happies, and wind shines her happies, we're of the feather. We're 5 cents a peso, we say so. We sing, ay caramba! What means ay caramba? Oh yes, I don't know. He then disappeared up the stairs, after tossing the time back to the unconscious Dewey. Panchito and Jose looked in each other's eyes for a moment, before smiling broadly. Panchito helped his friend to his feet. An old spark of life rediscovered charged up the stairs after PK. The small hearth in the center of the tavern's guest room was lit. Magica was sitting by it, desperately rummaging through her bag. Chili powder, is that? Aha! She called in delight as he drew a small brown bag from her sack, full of a fine powder. Not so fast, reach! Not even bothered to answer. She reached into her sleeves and tossed 2 flip bombs towards the 3 men who stood in her doorframe. She covered her eyes and nose to protect herself from the bomb's paralyzing effects. Before she peeked, seeing the cloud of smoke dissipate. What? She screeched. She saw the outline of a wide, black umbrella, acting as a shield for the 3 men. Before she could react, Panchito moved first, popping over the rim of the umbrella and taking a well-aimed pot shot at Magica. The bullet tore through her arm, causing her to drop nearly the entire brown bag into the smoldering earth, with a small pile of dust settling over the sides. The fire turned red, then orange, then green, before settling on blue, with a faint outline of a destination. Imbeciles! Do you have any idea how much that powder cost? She yelled, ignoring her grotesquely limp arm. Or rather, she pulled out another wand, golden one, and aimed it at the floor. The ground where she had fired the magic burst into flame. From the fire grew a figure that glowed with an eternal infernal light. It tore towards Magica. Kill them! She said simply, before turning into the fire. Just before, in a rainbow of color, she was gone. The 3 looked at the figure as it continued to grow, until it seemed to take up the entire room. The 3 then looked to one another.
I am the Alpha and Omega. I am the Lord of all evil. The other one is my playground. And I have but to stretch my pinky and subjugate each of you, so... What are you doing? Stop!
In a whirl, the parrot and rooster hurled the masked hero towards the huge demon. The duck was a tornado of flashing, fisted kicks. The demon found himself caught off guard, shielding his fiery eyes and face from the windmill of punches that came off the wild duck, who made that horrible noise all throughout with his voice. Meanwhile, Panchito had opened fire, careful not to strike his ally clinging to the demon. Jose waved his arms and screamed encouragement at Patito and PK before poking the demon in the stomach with the pointing end of his umbrella.
Oh, holy shit! You guys are crazy,
said the demon.
Beelzebub, out!
In the flash of fire, the devil was gone, leaving only a scorched patch in the ground. Wake up, said a voice before Dewey's face was slapped. What happened? said Dewey, before remembering. The time! Where's Mazika? Probably all the way to Vesuvius by now. We gotta go. Get back, Uncle Scrooge. He began to lift himself up, but a hand was placed on his chest. Not so fast. We need to think this through. Dewey's eyes finally caught up with the rest of him. PK was sitting over him, looking rough. Around him, Huey, Louie, and the others were being held by Potato's various relatives and relations. Jose was embracing his nieces, who were approaching Chester, all speaking at once. In front of Dewey's face, PK was waving the 1967 dime, which he snatched out of his fingers quickly. Thanks, he said curtly, but we have no time for thinking. If we don't hurry, she's going to melt that dime down for that crazy post of hers, unless we can stop her. And how do you plan on getting to Italy in an hour? She teleported, didn't she? PK nodded. Dewey trembled lightly before he let out a long, angus wail, beginning with a wide A noise, before transforming the diphthong into a teeth-clenched long E. His throat clenched over his noise. Hearing a hard G was gargled in his throat, letting all raised and frustrated percolate at the top of his being. When the outburst was over, Webby wandered over. Dewey? I lost it! Uncle Scrooge is dying. It was right here in my pocket and... Oh, God, why did I let it slip away? He fell to his knees with a groan. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It's gone. It's all my fault. No, said Webby. Dewey, it wasn't anyone's fault. You don't understand. It was the number one dime. It was his legacy. The first thing he ever owned by his own sweat and labor. And I let it go. I couldn't protect it. Now, it's gone. And I'll never see it again. A right crack against the cheek took his mind off his troubles for a moment. Stop hitting me, PK! That wasn't PK, said Webby, before she slapped him again, this time on the other cheek. Pull yourself together, but... No buts, Deuteronomy, Ebenezer Duck! Dead? You listen to me. That dime was your uncle's responsibility to protect, not yours, not PK's, not anyone's but his Uncle Scrooge's. It was his wish that you boys forgot all about that dime and went to make your own fortunes. You understand me? But Webby, now we're gonna sit down, calm down, and talk about what to do about magic dispel using Scrooge's dime and a spell for immortality and immortal youth. You understand me? That dime is beside the point. The world is at stake here. And if you're too short-sighted by your little love affair with your uncle's ghost, then I'm afraid I'll have to give my 2-week notice. What? I cannot work under these conditions. You're small-minded, barely pay any attention to me, pay me barely anything, are frankly horrible to the people around you without realizing it, and you only care about one-upping Uncle Scrooge. Well, nuts to that, Dewey. You need to get your priorities straight here. Matka, Farid, there are people threatening the world, and all you can think about is your petty little problems that nobody asked you to care about. Webby stood up, placing her hands on her hips and scowling. Now, I'm giving my ultimatum. Are you going to give up right now and sulk, or are you going to get your head out of your hind parts and find a way to beat Matka? Everyone in the room froze into this outburst, and as he finished, Webby was turning around, aware of it. Sir, she added quickly. There was a small pause that Dewey sat. He was holding his own dime in his hand, trying to figure out what to stare at. He settled his gaze on the dime, on Webby, and on his silent brothers. He dropped his head down and began to cry. Once he was finished, he stood up and faced PK, wiping tears from his eyes. We need to get to Mount Vesuvius as soon as possible. There might still be time. PK reached into a pocket in his cape and withdrew a small, clear black field with a fine teleport power Mazika used to escape. She only left enough for one person. Spice smells of dark things wafted through the old shack at the face of Mount Vesuvius. Within, the glow of the pot, bubbling in the center of the room, with no apparent means of heat, overpowered the senses with ghosts of light and sound. The ingredients went in, one by one, from the single, useful hand of the witch concocting the elixir of Aphrodite. She sat as if in a trance, her eyes widened, while milky and unseeing. Her hand moved as if controlled by something outside of her body. Her throat made mumbled incantation as he placed each component in the pot. Soon, her arm reached for the dime, sitting at the bottom of the stack, surrounded by perfumed rose petals. It wilted as her fingers closed around the shining metal. With the prize held in her hands, she held her hand over the boiling pot, which spewed pink smoke like a chimney. All at once, the fireplace at the end of the room roared, and the roar of the flame transformed into a roar of voices, as if burning away in reverse. Dewey appeared in the fireplace. He cocked Scrooge's musket on his shoulder, and fired a single musketball burst in a scream of rage. The large projectile passed clean through Matsuka's heart, exploding on the other side in a spray of crimson. Dewey lowered the rifle as he eyed the magician. The arm moved closer to the pot, undeterred by trivial ailments of the body. The dime fell into the pot. Cruel laughter in a familiar, sensual voice seemed to run backwards and forwards as the once echoed the room. Before Dewey, above the living corpse of Matsuka Dispel, there appeared an ethereal presence in the shape of a youthful temperance of Dewey's youth. It is no use. Yeah, I should focus on doing June Foray, but let's face it, guys. I'm no June Foray. I can't copy that voice. There's no way I could do June Foray's voice justice. So instead, I'm bringing out the next best thing. Catherine Tate. The elixir will soon be complete, and this body of mine will be remade to match my beautiful spirit, said the ghost. I'll be more powerful than ever before. At my full strength, I shall not kowtow to any man. You're mad, Matsuka. Mad, you say? I want to live forever is madness. To want power is madness. Then perhaps you're mad, little boy. I just realized, with all these references to the Donald Duck and Scrooge McDuck comics, we really should have also had Matsuka's niece show up. Shut up! Dewey yelled, before he tried stomping towards the cauldron. However, he was knocked backwards off his feet by an unseeable force. You think I didn't plan for you to come here? I am more protected than from you, and your pitiful bullets will be of no matter once I am again young and powerful. A cackle, strong and supple. First, I shall take care of those trumbles of Vibranians. No, them second, after I kill you and your little family right in front of you. The ghost floated down to hover her own body, laying her own hand swift over the cauldron, laughing merrily all the while. Soon, Dewey, I will be myself, young, supple, beautiful. You will have the pleasure to be the first to look upon the new queen of the world, and be the first to be crushed under her heel. Her laugh started small, but grew into a horrific crescendo, laying out the mad evils he radiated in every cackle. At the apex of the mad laughter, the hands of the sorceress moved, one of them flopping about grotesquely, dipping her hands into the pool. Instantly, her wrists hardened up, as the magic within the elixir used them. A deep distraught of the liquid was taken from the pot by two hands, forced down into the witch's unfeeling gullet. Yes, yes, I can feel it happening, she said, the spirit starting to rub herself all over, down the front of the black dress, as the spirit wore out some memory of human modesty, which was quickly flying out the window, as the opposite hand traveled lower. Yes, it is warm. Oh, yes. Dewey felt his throat grow dry in dismay, and to distract himself, started to pack down more powder in his musket before dropping a ball in. His stomach was tight in knots with terrified fear, but he couldn't let that stop him. Matsuka's body had begun to change. Dead hands slipped the robes as she wore off, revealing the nakedness of the old woman underneath. Spots and wrinkles seemed to melt away as the potion worked its magic on her body. Dewey had to suppress his gas as the bosom began to fill out, his saggy skin realigned with the sleek body. In the process, Dewey found fascinatingly grotesque. Ah, thank God. I thought I was going to have nightmares for a while. He looked down at his musket. He decided to fight. Iron bullets passed through magic barriers after all. He raised it and fired, but the sorceress was already more powerful than ever before. With a wave of her hand, the musket ball dropped in midair and turned, nearly piercing Dewey straight through if he hadn't ducked away out of the time. You are a fascinating plaything, Dewey Duck. You have grown into a strapping young thing. It would be a shame to kill you straight out, said the astral projection, when it began to look more and more like a rapidly de-aging husk now, naked and gorgeous, touching herself all over, and reveling in the sensations the Aphrodite likes warmed her. Go to hell, Magica! Yelled Dewey as he tampered down another round to the musket. Eventually, yes. But not for a long time now. Then the projection froze. A probing finger drew it back from its inspirations. Wait! What? Dewey looked down at the body. Seeing change within it. The husk slumped over. The spirit, having lost control of the musket, came being upright and connected to her spirit. What? No! It cannot be! Dewey wanted to cover his eyes, but couldn't. As his age had regressed to the prime of womanhood, supple, beautiful, raven hair and smoking eye, but somehow the skin and feathers seemed off. Dewey realized why. It was crawling. No, no, no! What went wrong? The spell! The spell is backfiring! Dewey could only watch in terror as the feathers began to molt off the duck, revealing the skin underneath, which had become red and runny. Skin no more. It began to resemble the muscle underneath, and all over the woman's body. It ran off like water. Soon, the inner mechanics of the body were laid bare for Dewey to behold. Wide, lidless eyes beheld in unconscious terror, bleak, fallen open, and allowing the flesh of the mouth to dribble out, for the tendons and cartilage holding the orange bill melted away, causing it to fall to the floor with a sickening thump. Hands, slitted fingers of both hands stripping away to reveal muscle, and the white peaks of bones between. The projection, still new and alluring, was screaming in pain and terror, too far gone to form words for what was happening to her one and only body. Soon, something began to take hold inside as well. Her chest expanded, as if breathing. Then, seemed to widen like a measure of elastic. The air around her heart grew out, pushing the liquefying bones out of the way, before the muscles spluttered outward, spraying all the blood forward in a harsh stream towards Dewey. Nausicaa's force spell still held, however, and Dewey beheld the strange sight of all the blood of a duck's body dripping down a pane of invisible glass. Finally, the body itself gave a death growl. A heartfelt scream rattled out of the soul, before the entire body detonated, meat and bone quickly flying apart in an orgy of gore that Dewey couldn't tear his eyes from. The chunks all fell to the floor, and held in a circle of force field. Finally, completed the melting process. Eventually evaporated away, meat, bone, blood, and all, leaving only the fake Stead's death, tinged with roses. No! How? How? You picked the wrong dime, Magica, said Dewey, letting words flow out of his mouth so his lens went. Scrooge's dime is powerless, and has been since he was gone. He isn't around to give it meaning anymore. But I saw you use the dime to counteract the symbol. I saw the power with my own two astral eyes. You saw this! Dewey pulled from his pocket his own #1 dime, still tied to the string. Scrooge isn't the richest duck in the world anymore. I am. Flimheart Glomgold's dead, and his business dispersed. John Rocker Duck was never even close. That just leaves me, Dewey Duck, rightful owner of McDuck Enterprise, and de facto richest duck alive. He stuck out his hand, holding out the dime proudly. And this is the first time I ever earned with my own labor. Magica's spirit, that was all that was left of her now, drew away from the sight of the dime and screamed like a banshee as he flew away, through the roof into the sky, railing at the unfair world that had wronged her so. You see, House of Mouse? That is the power of the #1 dime. Now, go back in time, slap your writers upside their heads, and then rewrite the whole Scrooge McDuck episode until I am satisfied! Dewey looked around before pocketing the dime. The latent magic in the hut, held up by Magica's spirit, dispersed, and the hard smell held in the invisible force field. A smell of death and corrosion wafted past. He held his beak hole shut as he stepped towards the now still cauldron, its contents having evaporated, along with the victim of its horror-filled spell. He went down to it, reached inside, and found, at the bottom, a lump of metal, composites of silver and copper, with the Sea of Liberty still recognizable on one side. It had been melted slightly, and creaked by corrosive magic. It was recognizable as a dime, but no one would ever take her as currency ever again. Dewey stared at the lump before he pocketed it. Without a word, tried to blank out the things he had seen. He searched the hut until he found another measure of telepowder, intending to go back to Chihuahua and take as much time as he needed to get over whatever happened here today. Before he threw the powder into the fire, He dug out the ruined dime out of his pocket again. Scrooge had always thought of it as a useless keepsake, the first bit of money he attributed memories to. A seaside boy in Glasgow, Scotland, unknowing heir to a castle, a legacy, treasure, adventure, thrills, heartbreak, just trying to earn his way in the world. Dewey shook his head at the images of his uncle he hadn't ever seen. Those weren't memories. They were his memory. They were never his memories. I should leave it behind, he thought. Scrooge is gone. There's no reason to keep it anymore. But then he thought about all that time he spent defending the money bin. Storms of Beagle Boys, a witch, a rival millionaire, some after the money itself, others after just a part. Looked down the remains of the dime. He remembered his own first encounter with it. He and his brothers were being led through the money bin for the first time. Scrooge looked old, tired, more exhausted than he ever saw him again after that. It was in a glass dome, on a green cushion. It had been just after that hard Christmas up on Bear Mountain when he first heard from their uncle. They slept in that dangerous bear-infested cabin. Uncle Donald pointed that dime out to me, calling it, like he many did, the lucky dime. I jump as Scrooge's voice cuts the air, refusing the name, calling it Blood at us! He wears a hat dyed later on as his cleaning carton. Moments later, he opened the vault door, and there, just sitting there, was more money than I had ever seen in my life. Dewey looked up from the dime, to the fire, then back down to the dime. He salvaged a long string from his own dime, figuring he could find another somewhere, and tied it into a rough circle. Then he took a thin flint, scissor and needle, from off of Magica's workbenches, poke a hole through the still softened metal before it could harden back up, become just a silver or copper. Then he threaded the string through the hole in the dime, before hanging around his neck, underneath his shirt. Those are my memories, he thought. I attached to his dime. He wanted me to make my own memories, my own fortune. That's why I kept it. He smiled as he threw the powder into the fireplace, thinking of that hearth at Chihuahua. I already have my own memories. All along. In the long sagged hall of the Thamurian palace of the former Tsar, his most excellent Grand High Marshal Thiberian was taking a call from overseas. Unable to move his arms, a servant held the receiver to his mouth, and a speaker to his ear, and covered his own ears with cotton so he could not eavesdrop. He taught them politics, and the tiring maze of it all, and how fantastic is so much more interesting. He talked of money, and his disdain for it. He talked of power, and his lust for it. He talked of living forever, and how fear he would never come. He talked for an hour over the phone, undeterred by such things as phone charges, expecting the country's coffers to pay for any unnecessary luxuries he required. As he talked, he suddenly heard a second voice in his mind, as if in a dream. He began to sputter on and on to the person on the other line. Ducks, dimes, America. The fugitive Dewey Duck, the Sea Duck. There is a dime held by a fugitive. That is the capitalist symbol. If he can attain it, and destroy it, or bury it. Memories, as if from another body, floated to his mind. So they call the elixir of Aphrodite. Religious hogwash, of course, but with the promise of eternal health, youth and beauty, to be young and handsome again, being able to move from his bed. He began to breathe hard as he rambled, and the state stone operator had noticed. He must find the dime, find Dewey Duck, must create the elixir, and live forever. So says Rasputin. He awoke, brow covered in sweat. The man on the other line calling into the line, Mercer, Mercer, are you all right? Rasputin has come to me in a dream. His earthly vessel has been slain once more. Oh, but he has given me a mission, a glorious war of honor against the terrorist Dewey Duck, and for that simple and capitalist blindness and corruption, this lucky dime, I must. He breathed deep, his eyes wide. I must have it! The voice on the other end of the line seemed to smile. I think, said Theron Kagan to his new friend and business partner, the Grand High Marshal of Themburia, that is a wonderful idea. As plans were formulated and the Italian events began to rise, there could be heard a wild cackle echoing through the grand hall. disappearing as the romantic faded with a smell of death and roses.